Welcome everybody to our main meeting, November 19th. And before we get things started, I'll do the usual ramble. Please note that all our meetings are recorded and made available to the public viewing on our YouTube channel. By participating in the meeting, it is understood that you have accepted. Okay, with that out of the way. So tonight's agenda. First, we have up Dave with some NORAD pictures, followed by Eric. He's going to do a FDAEc review pictures, and then Kevin's going to talk about ChatGPT, various AI comparisons regarding PC RF traces. And if we have time on that, we could have a question and answer period. So, Dave, you ready to roll?
Yes, sir.
Good. Maybe just remind everybody to mute their mics. I'm hearing some background noise. I don't know about anybody else.
Yeah, you could actually go in the panel, all the people that's talking, and if a mic's not muted, you could mute it.
Yeah, I do that. I manually mute mine.
There, can you guys see my screen?
Black. There you go.
You can see the PPT.
Yep.
There, can you see the slideshow?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is a talk about the recent, this past summer, we were up in North Bay, and I've always wanted to go by this museum. And so it's going to talk about the Canadian Forces Museum of Aerospace Defense. It's on the North Bay Air Force, the old Air Force Bay, Air Force Base. It's now being slowly decommissioned. A lot of private companies are now moving in there. I think they still have some of the Air Force still there, but I think it's for the most part they're selling off or leasing off things there. So I was in North Bay with Joanne last summer, and we were there. Joanne had to go in North Bay on business, and we were there, and we had I think we had an afternoon to kill, and I thought go up to this museum and check it out. And I was kind of surprised because in the museum they talk about NORAD, and they just talking about NORAD, and I got a short little video I'm going to show from CBC, and basically underneath North Bay is a huge NORAD complex, just like the NORAD complex in the Cheyenne Mountain. I don't know if it's still there, but it's according to this, it's 600 feet below the base, and it's in with solid granite, and it's quite an impressive place. It's been shut down.
North Bay on.
Here's a video that I hope you guys.
Ontario.
I hope you guys be able to see this and hear this, but this is an old video. It's from the mid 2000s because the NORAD bunker there got shut down in the mid 2000s, and I don't think, even though the video talks about there's a new NORAD complex, I don't think it's there. I think it's gone.
Scenic, quiet.
Are you guys seeing the video and hearing the sound okay?
Yeah.
Claim to fame, home of the Dion quintuplets. But there's more here, below the surface.
I'm ready to go underground. Okay, let's do it.
At Canadian Forces Base North Bay, Captain Steve Barrett is taking me deep down inside a piece of Canada's military history.
Dave, the video's frozen.
So as you can see, it's not a very wide tunnel. And the main method
It's going okay, Charlie.
Are you guys seeing it, or it's not showing?
It's going again now.
Get people in and out of the was
A 2-kilometer drive to a vast underground chamber.
So as you can see, it's not that difficult to move 19 tons or 23,000 kilograms of steel.
Built to survive a nuclear war.
Imagine this facility at...
Until last year, this was the Canadian nerve center for NORAD, the North American Aerospace Defense Command.
In the heyday of the Cold War, there's probably in excess of about just over 400 people that worked here from an 8 to 4, and probably in excess of about 200, 250 that worked the 24/7 mission of air defense.
These hallways used to hum with activity.
Actually, I can take you in here.
Not anymore.
So Tom, we're in the former operations room. So as you can see, it's a fairly antiquated system by looking at it.
The old bunker is a museum of obsolete computers. High-tech junk. This facility is virtually deserted today, but at the height of the Cold War, this is where Canadians sat watching the skies, waiting for World War III.
4 miles from the peaceful gossip of North Bay.
A 1965 CBC documentary shows what it might have looked like.
There are some breaks in this very water line.
Soviet bombers approaching North America.
Looks like we're in business.
A counterstrike at the ready. Today, that's all history. But here in North Bay, Canada still keeps watch over the skies. The underground bunker has been replaced with a new building.
Down below, the equipment down there was installed in the early 80s, and it's basically late 70s technology. Here, it's state-of-the-art, 21st century processing.
The move was not without controversy. The Auditor General says it went over budget, in part because while the military is in its new building, it's still paying roughly $2 million a year to maintain the underground bunker. So what to do with the old place? North Bay's mayor has heard some interesting ideas.
We hear a casino and an unusual underground casino.
The plan he likes is turning the old bunker into a huge vault for a high-tech firm to store vital records and data.
It is a nuclear proof. It is electromagnetic pulse proof. It is absolutely the world's most secure building.
The problem is the old bunker sits right next to the brand new NORAD building. The military won't turn it over to just anyone, so for now it's undecided about whether to get rid of it or hold on to it just in case. Tom Perry, CBC News, North Bay, Ontario.
So did that
North Bay, Ontario.
Did that play okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. So that's just a little taste of what's below North Bay. So the museum itself, it's on the Canadian Forces base. As I said, it looks as if that base is slowly being shut down. And this is just a photo essay. It's just a bunch of pictures. I'm just going to be showing you some pictures inside the museum. So that's the outside of the museum. And, prior to going into this museum, I had no idea that NORAD was below North Bay. I had no idea what was below there. So it's kind of interesting for me. So, and there's a lot of interesting stuff. They have some stuff about, a lot of it's about radar, because that's what NORAD was about radar. And the interesting thing is they've got this exhibit here, the Canadians, and this is more from World War I. And I was kind of surprised they talk about Billy Bishop and they have stuff like that, even though, I guess he was part of aerospace defense, right? But I think he was more on the attack side. It says home defense pilot. Now, I'm not going to be going through these slides and talking about what the slides are and what it does. I'm just showing you pictures just to give you a taste of what's there. And if you're ever in North Bay, go out, see it, and you could see the exhibits yourself. So a lot of it has to do with detection because it's a aerospace defense. So it talks about how they detected enemy aircraft. And, talk about like the V2 and, how devastating that was and the importance of detecting it. And Eric now is going to be just drooling because here's an old telephone console from back in the heyday, and got a whole bunch of stuff here talking about radar, and got this cool little map. I don't know if this still is, these are all the radar installations across Canada, and I don't know whether they're active or decommissioned. There's a different ones. There's a dew line, you know, the pine tree line and so forth, and they're all color coded. And they've got all these, so there's like 44 radar installations across Canada. Again, I don't know whether these are actually active or they've been shut down. I would suspect they've probably been shut down. And they've got lots of some of the old, you know, radar detecting screens. I think this is probably from World War II vintage, or probably after World War II. And talk about some of the radar types and things like that. And Joanne has to be in a picture or two. That's the actual Air Force Base there in the background. And these are more modern, I guess. This is probably the vintage equipment that was in the NORAD installation. And so then this was the surprising part for me when I came across this and they talk about NORAD. And this is where I found out about the bunker below NORAD. And they talk about what NORAD is and all that kind of stuff. Some of the detection back there, you can see this is dated 1983. So in the video, he says, you know, that was based on 80s technology. You know, and more stuff about what it looked like down in NORAD. And this is a cool little, I shot this video. This is an interesting little diorama here they've got where they actually have got all the above ground and what's below ground. And I just took a quick video of it. The pictures here showing how it got built. I've got buttons that you could push and certain things light up so you know where the various things are. And that's towards the lake. I don't know if that's highway, what's it going through there? Is it 11 that goes through? I think it's 11 that goes through North Bay. Okay, how do I advance this? Okay, there we go. And then they talk about the Beaumark missile, which is kind of nice. I guess this was, the missile defense system in Canada at the time. And here's the console that was used to launch the Beaumark missile. And then they get into some of the more modern, you know, detection mechanisms, aerospace defense systems, AWACS, that's the planes you see today. The Americans are still flying those. I don't know if Canada has any of these still flying. Then they get into space defense, satellites, because everything now is basically based on satellites. Of course, Joanne has to climb in one of the fighter cockpits there. So that's it. So what was interesting, so the museum itself was kind of interesting. But on my way out, there's an old museum guy, and I got to talk to almost everybody. So I stopped and I started chatting with them about what's going to happen to this complex, right? What's, you know, is they going to use this because Carney had said he was going to throw a whole bunch of money into the Canadian military. And I thought, oh, well, maybe they're going to revamp this. And he said, no, it's too antiquated. The cabling is old. There's too many leaks. And he said it'll just be too expensive for them to go and reuse that. So one of the things we talked about was over the horizon radar. And that was kind of interesting. So I did a little bit of research on it. And so I just got a couple of slides, very, very high level, about what over the horizon radar, which is what's going to replace NORAD, the traditional radar used for NORAD. And it's part of what, Trump was talking about. I think it's called the Golden Dome. I think the Iron Dome is what Israel has, and the Golden Dome is what the U.S. is looking at building. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about here came from two videos. One is from, I don't know if you guys watch About That with Andrew Chang. A really good series of videos he's got. Very good. So he was talking about Golden Dome, and this was very interesting video to watch. I encourage you to watch that if you're interested in Canada's participation in Golden Dome. And then if you're more interested in the technology part, here's a Rod Schwartz video on how Over the Horizon works and what the technology involved. That's very interesting. So basically, if you don't know what Over the Horizon radar is, a traditional radar goes, tens of kilometers, 10 or 20 kilometers. But with Over the Horizon radar, it's using HF and it's using skywave propagation. So in this picture here, they've got a transmitter and a receiver site separated, and they're going to bounce a signal off the ionosphere. It's going to hit the target, then it's going to bounce back and it's going to get received. And with a ton of signal processing, they could detect something approaching. Now, this slide here, this picture, this information I got here, it's an announcement that basically Carney went and visited Australia, and he's spending, $6 billion from this company, BAE Systems Australia, and he's buying their Over the Horizon radar set. It's called Jindali Over the Horizon Radar Jordan, Joran, whatever, however you pronounce it. So there's a commitment made now. So we're going to be installing this, and so based on this system here, it looks as if they could detect targets up to 3,000 kilometers away, which is pretty significant. And here's a news release here that they've picked two transmit sites. One site is in Kawartha Lakes, and the second site is in Clearview Township. And I think where does it say, on the Thistle Trail in the Kawartha Lakes and Clearview Township. I'm not sure where that was, probably top secret. But they haven't picked the receive sites, but they picked the transmit sites. And so I went on Google and I found Thistle Trail, and this is what I found. And I think this is something else. I don't think this is what they're building here. This is probably some kind of a trail or some kind of, a natural education center or something like that there. But so if we take this as where they're going to, let's just say they're going to install the transmitter here. So what does 3,000 kilometers look like? So if you use Google Maps and you go from that Thistle Trail, 3,000 kilometer comes up here. It doesn't go quite as, Russia's way over at the top of the picture here. So that's about 3,000 kilometers there. Now, to get to see into Russia, that's about 4,500 kilometers. So it's quite a ways. So anyway, that's it. That's all I wanted to show. So there, I think I've turned off screen sharing.
No.
Okay, there, it's turned off.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, very good. I know with my dad, he was in the forces. He's been all over the world, and he did talk to me many times about working at the Dew Line, and I'm not sure if he worked at that NORAD site or not, but I seem to remember him talking about it. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore, and I can't ask him. But I know for a fact he was at the Dew Line. The other thing, I guess since the 70s, they've had, you can hear over the HF bands the Russian woodpecker, and that's being referred to as over the horizon radar. Um, I believe occasionally it's still running. They're operating it, but there's tons of videos on YouTube about it. All right, very good. Anybody have any questions, comments? Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I posted a link there in the chat. I was just listening to a radio program today about the people not so happy about the appropriation of land where they are. So that's an article about the Receive site in Clearview Township. So anyway, something to have a look at. Apparently, it's transmit site. This is just what the guys were talking about. Actually, it wasn't on news or anything. It was, I remember it was just on the York Region repeater. But apparently they're saying it's going to be transmitting 1 million watts, I believe. What is that? A megawatt, I guess, of power at the transmit site in Kawartha Lakes. So people are, somewhat hesitant about, exposure limits and all that kind of stuff. But I'm sure the government will be, doing what they do best, keeping us safe. So anyway, yeah, interesting. So I have to keep an eye on it.
If you want to understand how it works, watch that Road to Schwartz video, because they talk about it. And you have to transmit a lot of power, because keep in mind, you're getting a bounce. You're sending it, so energy is getting there. Then energy has to come back. So you have to detect the bounce. So you have to send an awful lot of power for you to get a reflection coming back.
I did have another question, but I can't remember what it is now. Where was that? I missed where you said, Dave, the all those displays and things. Where was that at?
What displays? The museum?
The museum, yeah.
Yeah, it's in North Bay.
In North Bay. What's the name of the museum?
It's a Museum of Aerospace Defense.
Aerospace Defense. Okay. Is it relatively new, or has it been around a while?
I think it's been around. The building looks new, but I think it's been around a while, because I've been going up to North Bay for a few years now, and I've always seen it. Yeah. I've been up there several years. I've seen it, never had a chance to go in.
Right. Okay.
But somehow Joanne gave me permission to go in.
All right, cool.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, Dave, thank you. That was very interesting. It brought back some memories talking to my dad about that stuff. Okay, so I believe we have Eric up next.
Okay, I will stay unmuted here. Give me a moment to get sorted here. Whoa. Slideshow mode, and let's start sharing. This. All right, that should be coming through, I think.
Yep.
It's a little smaller than I'd prefer, but it's not quite filling up the whole screen, is it?
Can you zoom it?
No, it doesn't seem to want to play ball there. So
Where'd you buy that license?
Good enough. Yeah, so there you go. It's official. That was the news that greeted everybody when they arrived a month ago, I guess now, middle of October, when I was in Quebec City for the Hackfest convention. The Quebec Amateur Radio Club, CRAQ, C-R-A-Q, was there, demonstrating some of their gadgets and setups and what have you, but they were also running tests, exams. They had some examiners there to do advanced, basic, whatever. So anyway, I wrote the test, and there you go. So I wrote it again because I'd already written it about 12 years ago, but wrote it, and actually Kevin at gunpoint made me log into the ISED website and pick a call sign. So I had no choice but to register. So there you go, Victor Alpha 3 X-Ray Delta Echo. And that's it. So anyway, there you have it. Finally operating a little bit more normally, so I don't have to explain myself every time I get on the radio. So so that was the I guess first day of or I guess pre-day of FDAEc, 4 days at my cottage. I should put the "my" in quotes because technically it's Sandy's fractional ownership cottage, and she forfeited a trip up there to allow us to geek out for a few days. She was actually planning on coming up for a day or two prior to the festivities, but just didn't happen. Too much going on here at the farm. So anyway, so that is arrival on the Tuesday evening. Dave and I were setting up the physical space to provide 8 spots for people, half tables to work on their projects or set up equipment, whatever. So Charlie was there as well, but he was already retired for the evening, and does not appear until later in the little slideshow here. So this is a little NUC, as they're called, next unit of computing form factor of Dave's, and he was spending a significant amount of time on the I guess provisioning and configuring and unconfiguring and configuring again and unconfiguring. Dave, did you want to talk a little bit more in depth about what you accomplished with this?
No, that's okay. It just I just was trying to get migrate my PC over to that.
Okay.
That's okay. Continue on.
Yep. Okay. Powerful little box, but he may elaborate a little bit more on that as we go on. I don't know if this will play. Probably not. There's no audio, but I guess you get a little bit of a 3D view or whatever you want to call it. I don't know why there's no audio on the, maybe because it is a slideshow, but
you have to share the audio when you share screen.
Well, I'm not hearing it either. I think it's just because it's a video, but I have no options here to do anything. But regardless, I think he was just basically saying, here we are at 4 days at the cottage, and everybody is starting to get into their own projects and what have you. So, nope, don't want to do that. I want to do this. Okay. That I think is another one of Dave's computers, which he was again working on. That is his little server box there, getting all lathered up with Linux. That is Kevin's operating position, and he was working on a few things. I actually didn't peek over his shoulder too much, and if I don't know, Kevin, you want to briefly say what you were up to?
I worked a little bit on the DCR and checking a bunch of filters that I found, homemade filters. Playing with the SA, I was doing some setups for the filters and then storing them so I can just download it back in, and doing some Ubuntu Linux stuff like as Dave was as well. What else was I doing? Oh, and testing my power supply for the backplane radio. So, or a prototype that I had built. That's it.
All right. Thanks for that. So there was also, as has become, I guess, a bit of a tradition, some musical instruments brought up. So that was my electric bass that I was working on with a little can. If you can see that can of deoxit, getting rid of some of the scratchiness on the pots. Pretty simple task, but worked very effectively and got it nice and smooth in the end. So deoxit to the rescue. Not a whole lot of technical excitement there. And you know what? Honestly, I forget what this was a picture of. To be totally honest with you, does anybody remember?
Yeah, I think that's the inside of my Kenwood radio that I was doing surgery.
Oh yes, right. Yeah, this was shared on the WhatsApp group, I think. Right, so made it into the slideshow. So I guess maybe while we're at it, I think there might be a picture of you coming up, Charlie, but you can maybe talk to what you were attempting to do. That was a shot looking northeast over the lake, over Sparrow Lake. Apparently, this was in the midst of a auroral show that was visible, but not to us. Most of the light here you see amplified light is, I think, just the lights of Gravenhurst, which is roughly in that direction. So, yeah, unfortunately, we missed out on that. We had clear nights later on in the week, but not that night. So yeah, so there's probably a morning shot. Everybody back at work, working on things. So kind of a blend of RF and non-RF activities happening as far as projects and what have you there this year. So there's Charlie working away on his TS440S. For some reason that doesn't sound right, but I think that is right, TS440. Charlie, did you want to just briefly talk about what you were working on there?
The TS440S Kenwood receiver was donated to the club, and we were going to use it for a number of things, but it's got a problem with the display, so I was attempting to repair that over the course of the week. Also spent some time working on replacing the internals of a very expensive rechargeable battery pack for an HT with a just basically batteries, and a few other little projects here and there. A bit of Linux stuff playing on that computer as well. So that's what I was up to.
Yeah, interesting comment, Drew. That was my first comment to Charlie up there, but because I am the proud owner of a 440S myself, and occasionally get the dots, but 90%, 95% of the time, no issue. But no, it's a different issue with this particular unit that Charlie had.
Yeah, it's not the dots. It just if you do a reset on it and power it up, the frequency readout displays all 8s, and then if you power cycle it, it'll display all 6s, and power cycle it again, it'll display all 9s. So it's a bit of a head scratcher.
Yep, long and storied display issue that seems to nag. I don't know if it's just the 440 or if it happened on other models, but to my knowledge, it's the 440 that's been the recipient of this. So, there's Kevin's station again. Yeah, Drew, go ahead.
Oh, when I get a chance to get back to the Kenwood, I was wondering if it happened to have the chip in the back that allows you to remote control it. Some of them do.
Yeah, it actually does have it populated in there. So that's going to be my quick and dirty solution, is just to use cat control for it.
That's what I wondered. Yeah, I'm about to put those chips in mine, so I wondered how it worked.
My goodness, we need to form a little subgroup here so we can mod all of ours to little ad hoc committee. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So there's the music station. That's my feeble attempt to make some not only oscillations, I guess. So it was audio frequency stuff, maybe not radio frequency, but audio frequency, and some bleeps and bloops from a little synth unit that I had there too. So didn't get too far, but Kevin and I did at least have a few run-throughs of a song that we had proposed playing together, and Peter would have joined in with us had he been there, but 'twas not meant to be. So, and no theremins were harmed in the 4 days. That's because I didn't bring a theremin, because I had a feeling that it might not survive. So I have to sleep with it under my pillow probably to ensure its safety.
But you did play a theremin symphony for us.
Oh, yes, an album. That's right. Correct. Thank you. Yeah, I came across at the Electric Eclectics Music Festival earlier in the year a theremin 100th anniversary theremin vinyl, which all the guys at the cottage wanted to listen to again and again, but I only played through it once. So that was just a one-time treat. Maybe it'll just come out once per event. Kevin working on his filters, I presume.
Power supply.
Oh, power supply. Okay, thank you. That was an abomination. Actually, it tasted pretty good, to be honest with you. It tasted more like lemonade than whiskey, but I know Peter's a fan of Jameson, and I came across this at the liquor store prior to the event, so had to bring that up. He was not impressed when he saw it, so had to restring my bass while I was up there too, and managed to break the low, the E string, which is no small feat. But anyway, I got it tuned to the right octave. There's Dave. I don't know, about to say something, probably about my picture taking or what have you. Anyway, nice. Everything went well there. Lots of food, lots of good company, and good conversation that happened. That was me, actually. I was configuring a couple little NUC boxes myself as well, installing Linux on one of them, which I plan to use on a regular basis. So perhaps the next meeting I'll be actually running on a non-Windows box. Haven't done that for over a decade and a half, but see if I can make that my daily driver. So brought some, actually both Kevin and I brought some lock picking stuff up there just for amusement. Anyone who wanted to try their hand at it. I know I didn't get too much time playing with it. Wish I would have done a little bit more, but anyway, a fun feature of many conferences that I go to is just a table with lockpicking stuff as a diversion when you need to take a break from whatever it is you're doing. So traffic was good up at the cottage. No snarl ups, which is nice. Yet another shot. Ken had his 20-meter vertical, ground vertical there. Did you want to say anything about what you were up to there, Ken?
Yeah. So I had brought up my collapsible mast, goes up to about 30 feet. I put my 20-meter dipole on it. It was supposed to rain Saturday, so Eric suggested doing it Friday because it'll be pouring, which I did. Next day it rained all day long. And I think it was at early afternoon we started getting lightning, fairly close. So I decided to collapse it and play it safe. The radio is the 10-Tech Scout I had purchased from Frank. I did do some testing. The tune capabilities working correctly, but the full power output is not working correctly. Um, the modules have this uh, uh, oxidization uh, issue that has to be cleaned once in a while. Um, and I also was reading or watching in another YouTube video that the modules, the plastic part at the back where the edge connector uh, is too long and it's pushing up against connectors on the board, and it's not allowing the edge connector to go all the way in. So I plan on pulling off the covers this weekend and take a look and see if that's what's really going on. But other than that, into a dummy load to check it out, and yeah, it works on the tune, but not on full power. That's it. Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, just a comment for Ken there. That particular rig has been idle for some time, so it is possible that some of the contacts could get a bit gunked up. A good use for the deoxit. Try that. The other comment is that particular rig was taken back to the factory and modified. Well, my brother had it. He happened to be down in that area and dropped in. And they did a couple of modifications. I'm not too sure what they were, but the modifications apparently improved whatever problem they had, which could have been lower power. And the other comment I have is the power output control is on the bottom of that rig. I don't know if you've found it yet.
Yeah, yeah, I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was playing with that. Um, it said in the book it's like it can vary between 1 and 15 watts while it's on the tune mode. But when I use do a full uh, transmit, it's not even close to 50 watts. More like maybe 25. Yeah, so I bought myself a can of deoxit, and I plan on taking them apart, clean them up, and check that plastic casing isn't pushing up against the connectors inside on the board.
Okay, have fun with it.
Yeah, I plan to if I get decent weather.
Right.
Okay, interesting. I'm not muted. That display, is that how they were designed with the megahertz off to the side?
Yeah, what it is just a module. All they did was print the number 7 on it.
Oh.
And it's got a PTO dial tuning.
Right.
So all it's doing is varying the kilohertz and down.
Right.
On it.
Huh. But it does other bands, right?
Yeah, there's I think there's 80, 40, 30, 20, 15, and 10.
And you just slide in a little module or something? Or
so I don't know if you can see it right beside the left side of the number 7.
Yep.
There's a little handle. You pull it, and it pulls the module out.
Oh, okay.
And then you slide a new one in.
Huh. Should have taken a closer look at that. Never even noticed that. Okay.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the covers off and just check those modules aren't pressing up against some so-called connectors, And if it does, I'll just take a couple of pictures. I can share them next meeting.
All right, thanks, Ken. As you can see, also just while we're on this screen in the background, I had a Jitsi session open periodically, or occasionally, I guess is the word, with anybody who wanted to join in remotely, primarily Peter, so that he could feel somewhat connected to the event, because I know he would have liked to have been there. So anyway, that actually I think worked out pretty well. Used it on a few occasions. So all right. That is the backplane radio, some of the cards that are in the works. There was some discussion that went on with regard to that project with people that are on that team, another view of it. Again, I think some of the remote people wanted a little closer look at what was going on. Dave?
Yeah, and so I just want to point, is my hand down? Yes. So I just want to point out that board that you're showing there, that's the board that Wayne, I don't know if Wayne's on the call, but that's the board that Wayne had developed. And we were talking about that board, and that led to the conversation that Kevin is going to talk about in terms of RF traces. So it was this board that led to the whole AI conversation and the whole PCB traces carrying RF. So I just want to point out this board, about that board.
Okay.
And it's probably worth mentioning that what we're looking at is actually a mock-up of the backplane, a mechanical mock-up, if you like, so that we can, validate that we've got clearances correct and what the stiffness would be of the board's vertical, like that, the holder, how well it's holding it up so that the boards don't lean over and touch each other and so on. So we spent a fair amount of time on that, and I came back with a couple of mechanical changes to make to the holder design as well.
Yeah, Michael, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Wayne and I came up on Friday, and my reason to come up was to see exactly this, the backplane. I just could not visualize how the cards were going to go in and how they're going to work. So now I know, which is good. So that's, and I was glad I came up. Anyway, that's all I had to say.
Okay. Yeah, so I think on the Friday night, weather was decent during the day, to reasonably have a fire, and kind of getting to the time of year when you don't know what you're going to get. We had some rain prior to it, and everything, by the time we got out there, everything had a layer of frost on it. So took a little bit of effort, and committees had to be struck as far as how to light the fire, and more people joined the committee as far as fire building and fire tendering and all that, but eventually we did get a fire going. I'd say it probably took about half an hour or so before it got sufficiently good to throw off a little bit of heat, and that was that. It was actually pretty pleasant once we were out there, as long as you were within the fire pit area. So that's myself in the red parka, Hassan standing beside me, and I'd say there was probably about half a dozen of us out there at the peak. Dave, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to point out that you said about striking a committee. And what was funny was Hassan decided to get grok. That's the what's that? What's his name? Elon Musk. Yeah, he got the grok to like give us advice, and it was just hilarious what it was coming out and saying. It was just absolutely, I almost pissed my pants.
What did he have? He had the raunchy. Apparently there's different personalities you can choose with grok. So he had the
raunchy one. He had the
not safe for work
So it was funny how it was telling us to start the fire. And it would be something we would say if someone said, "Hey, help me start this fire." We would, the way I would respond is the way Grok was responding.
Yeah, the Dave model. Anyway, there you go. So we enjoyed a little bit. Oh, there we go. There's a bit of a video link into the event. So I say that, even if we do an in-person buildathon and people want to do it remotely, we could pull it off with people participating from their home or wherever they are. That seemed to work pretty well, and I think integrated into the event and kind of worked both ways just fine. So anyway. Dave and Ken on the couch, just chilling out, probably on a rainy day in the afternoon. I don't know what I'm doing there, taking a picture, I guess, or something of what I was working on, which was the DCR assembly. So finally I got around to cracking open the bag on that and was just got, I don't know, not very far on that, to be honest with you. But anyway, at least it is started, right? Starting is 80% of the completion. Yeah, not much of note here. This is, I don't know, just, I guess, Dave's station showing his musical proclivities. If you guys can all see that, he seemed to really want to have this album, left it up there on the wall throughout the event. So that's more of the DCR assembly. There's Ken doing a little bit of burning of his fingertips. What were you working on there, Ken?
Oh, the DCR version I have is on the V2 board. And so what I ended up doing is transferring all the parts from the V2 board to the V3 board. And when I had it complete in about an hour and it worked first time. So I used all the original parts from the original board, including SMD.
Nice. As you said, there's lots of leftover parts in case anyone that has the DCR kit has a problem with theirs. So.
Yeah, I got lots of parts.
All right, and there is, I guess, not sure exactly. That's probably getting towards the end, maybe. I'm seeing some things possibly packed up over the last night, I'm guessing. Yeah, some of the tables starting to clear up. That was Dave helping himself to some things that were in the baskets. They were just, I guess, giveaways. That's what he thought or whatever. So into his bag they went.
Mine.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody went home with things that might not have been theirs if it was unattended. So yeah, there's the DCR again, being repopulated. And yeah, I guess that is pretty much that as we are driving away. Yep, that's the last slide. So, all right. Anyway, so sorry. Hopefully that wasn't too long, but that was start to finish of the event. At the peak, we had 9 of us. Sorry, not at the peak, but throughout the event, there were 9 attendees coming and going. Some for all 5 overnights, some for only 5 or so hours. So, I think it ended up being a enjoyable time for all based on the feedback that I've gotten, and we shall endeavor to do it again with possibly a build-a-thon and field day and other things in between. So anyway, thanks very much for your attention, and of course to the attendees for making it a memorable event. So,
and thank you for hosting.
Yeah, quite well. So.
Okay. Does anybody want to say anything about his presentation? No. Okay, Kevin, the floor is yours.
Hang on, sorry, just rearranging my screens here so I can see everything when I want to. Okay. Let's see. Beginning. Okay. And share. I'm going to share this one. Okay. All right. You should be able to see that now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what prompted this was Dave sent out, I know there was that conversation, and actually I wasn't part of it, ironically. I don't know what I was working on, and I remember Wayne and Dave and Charlie going over stuff. And then Dave sent this very detailed, AI response. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? And me being somewhat of an AI skeptic, or at least I double check everything. I thought, well, what happens if we ask some other AI models the exact same thing? Anyway, so okay, there we go. So anyway, I took I took the initial prompt. I didn't go, because Dave went back and forth a few times. So I just took that initial prompt, like a couple of paragraphs, and I gave it to several other models. And Dave was very specific, said, check these websites, look for these forums, Reddit, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And, check for this and get back to me and tell me what it's all about. And, and then I always thought, well, what happens if and one of the things I did too is I asked it twice. Anyways, so the models that I used were the Cloud/Sonnet model by Anthropic. There's some disagreement about how many parameters is. It's hundreds of billions. Microsoft Copilot, same thing, hundreds of billions. ChatGPT, and because it's based on ChatGPT, so ChatGPT, the one that Dave used, is hundreds of billions. I also used one. It's out of Europe, and it's called Lumo, and it's from the Proton sort of universe. They have a security-focused email and some stuff like that. They say theirs is based on like 32 billion parameters, which I think is a little light. I don't think that's exactly true. And then I run a local model here at home with 8 billion parameters, the Llama 3 model, which is from Meta. So just a little bit of a diversity of opinion. This was Dave's prompt, and it's, he wants to understand the behavior of RF on traces. Check with the major manufacturers regarding whether trace. Okay, I'm spelling error. That anyway should be configured as a microstrip or whatever the other one is, the controlled plane where you have multi-layer boards, and asking about 50 ohm characteristic impedance and how you should route the circuit and the trace and all this kind of stuff, and general PCB design and RF design. Speculation should be avoided. I think that was an attempt to try and prevent or reduce hallucinations, as we know they all hallucinate. And then talking about what kind of circuit board it is. So anyway, I copied and pasted that into the prompts. That's all I did. And then I some of these were multi-page responses. So I kind of divided it up a bit into categories like the trace layout, trace length effects, how important is the 50 ohm termination, and if there's any other miscellaneous comments. So this was the trace layout, and I kind of grouped it by ChatGPT, Cloud, Son. I'm not going to go through all this. I'll put this out on an email on the forum after I'm done here as a PDF, and then people can go through and look. But the bottom line seems to be return. So, some they kind of say microstrip, which is just a trace on the top with a ground plane underneath. That seems to be fairly consistent and fairly important. Keeping it away from other traces that have noise, that's also important. They talk about avoiding bends, but then they kind of say, well, it's not a big deal what this frequency and this kind of stuff. Make sure you keep them short. You know, some talk about focusing in the corners. Some, you know, Copilot says don't over focus on the corners, prioritize ground continuity. There's a lot of information here. It kind of all sort of says the same thing, but with, you know, variations. So that's, and, you know, we're not going to read it all. Trace length, yes. So what was interesting here is that, you know, they talk about keeping it, you know, wavelength divided by 10. Fine. ChatGPT is assuming the wavelength is 10 meters at 30 megahertz. Problem is, that's not true. On a circuit board, the wavelength is actually closer to half a meter because of the dielectric constant of the circuit board, and that varies with frequency. But anyway, it's around half a meter. So which doesn't matter in this case, but it might matter if you're talking 2 meters or 70 centimeter band. Then all of a sudden you're out by a factor of 2 as far as your trace length and wavelength ratio. So anyway, just back to my thing about, I have a thing about, you know, models don't do math very well, and it kind of missed that one. Lumo picked it up, and ChatGPT missed it. There was a couple others that did pick it up as well. Anyway, that's trace length. So basically, if it's short, it doesn't matter. But then you get into the 50 ohm terminations, and if you're just, you know, kind of going around the circuit board between components, not a big deal. But almost all of them suggest that if you're going to a 50 ohm load of some sort, an SMA connector, you know, BMC, whatever, something that requires, you know, power or matching, they recommend that you actually do have a 50 ohm trace. It seems to be more leaning towards having a 50 ohm trace than not. And in Dave's original spec, he was indicating that maybe we'd be going down to like a 0.5 millimeter trace. And depending on, you know, who you ask in here, you need 1, 2, 3, 4 millimeter wide traces to hit 50 ohms, depending on the board and that sort of thing. So, and again, there's a lot of detail in here, but it kind of all sort of say the same thing. You know, it's good to do 50 ohms, but not really absolutely positively necessary. Anyway, the one thing common to all of these is that the local one, the 8 billion parameter model that I run local, didn't have a lot of specific recommendations like these others. It had references to online resources. So it was basically a fancy search that said, well, here, click this link if you want to know more and go read somewhere else. Anyway, so, but, and I wasn't expecting a lot out of it. It can do code and stuff. It has written code for me, but this kind of specific thing didn't do too well. But it's a much smaller model. Some other comments, you know, sort of the TLDR stuff that might have been at the end. It's like, you know, ChatGPT says it's not about the length, it's about interfacing impedances when it's required. Cloud says, it's okay, low power, keep them short, but use a ground plane. Copilot didn't really have anything extra, just had it already summarized. Lumo says, you know, don't worry about impedance. It's far shorter than, you know, wavelength divided by 10. And again, focus on the solid ground plane and clean layout. And again, so anyway, it's, you know, the one thing that the 3 things I take away is short, fine, it doesn't matter. You want to have a ground plane under any RF trace, and there are some details in here, and I'm gonna take all the documents that I got as PDFs. I'm going to put them on an email and I'll put them out in the group later on. But they don't like vias, sharp corners, you know, and they want a ground plane under it at all times. Anyway, that seems to be fairly common. And if you're going to a 50 ohm load or source of some sort, try and match it. It's better than not matching it, obviously. So And I said, well, you know, because I just watched a video the other night on this, on AI, and it was like, and it got me thinking. And I thought, what happens if you ask the same thing again? And because I don't know, anybody knows how large language models work. Not that I do, but I have watched a bunch of videos. If anybody wants, there is a guy on YouTube called 3 Blue, 1 Brown. He's a mathematician, and he does amazing animations and stuff like this. And he's got a whole series on how these things work. And it's really, and to me, it was really interesting. Anyway, but so large language models are statistical inference engines, right? They just predict what the next word could be. Not should be, but could be. It's weighted, right? And so that's all they do. They take every word, or they take the prompt, they figure out what's the first word that I should respond to the prompt with, feed it back through with that first word and say, what's the next word? And then they just keep iteratively doing that. And so I don't know how many kilowatts Dave burned up with his request, but I'm sure it was a few. Anyway, and you know, and they're constantly tweaking and tuning these things a little bit. There are parameters you can adjust, like temperature and things like that, that sort of adjust how creative and how the weightings occur and all this things can be. And what it means, though, all this is that you can ask the exact same question at a different time or from a different person or whatever and get different answers. The message may be, for the most part, the same, but if you ask an AI model the exact same text, you are not going to get the same answer, not precisely. And so what I did, I'm going to share something else here. So let me I'm just going to get a couple other files up here now. And I did this, cloud. So what I did was, I did this 2 days ago, and I did it on Copilot. And then I did it tonight. I did the exact same thing. Okay, I sent the exact same response. And so what I'm going to do now, oh, hang on here. Okay, entire screen, I want this. Okay. So, oops, share. There we go. So everybody should see 2 PDFs there.
Yep.
Okay. So, so this one here is from the 17th, so 2 days ago. This one's from tonight, just a couple hours ago. And I should have, you know, spaced it out so it's easier to see. But so this, I just copy pasted the response. You know, there's a little copy button at the bottom from the response. Now, disregard the formatting. I messed the formatting up a little bit, but the content is different. Exact same prompt, exact same engine or model, and it's even laid out differently. Right? It says RF traces on a 2-layer FR board, 1 RF behavior of PCB traces on 2-layer boards. When a trace acts like a wire, well, that's not even in the one from 2 days ago. Approximate lengths, it gets the wavelength correct here, 5 meters roughly at 30 megahertz instead of 10 meters. Should they be microstrip on 2-layer? Well, so here's where it's kind of starts to match up, but you notice it's not the same. It's like the information's kind of all there, but it's laid out differently. You have to read it differently. This one's got the one on the right has a nice table. You know, it's like, oh, you know, like what should you do? That table doesn't exist in the one that I asked about tonight. You know, it's kind of summarized in text as opposed to in a table. Like it talks about vias and bends and grounding and stitching and all this kind of stuff. Specific layout guidelines, so for trace geometry and all this kind of stuff. And it doesn't really have, well, it's kind of got that on the left, routing requirements and good practices, but it doesn't call it specific layout guidelines. So, it's all, to me, it looks like they're two different AI models, but it's the exact same model with the exact same prompt. So anyway, and if you don't believe me, there's also, can you see the text files there? I don't know if we can see them on there or not.
Yeah, pretty small.
Probably can't read them. Anyway, I just did this just before the meeting. I said, tell me, I took my local one downstairs because nobody's messing with that. It's the same, right? It should be the same as same can be. And I gave it a very, very simple prompt. Tell me a story about a little girl and a wolf. And 10 seconds apart, different stories, different names. The kind of flow of the story is similar, but the details are different. And that's with the temperature set to 1. Temperature is sort of like a measure of creativity. And I did one where I cranked it to 100. I have no idea what the limit is on this thing, but I cranked it to 100 and it got so messed up, it just stopped in the middle of the story. Couldn't even finish it. So anyway, so that, I thought that was really interesting, that you can have prompts that don't give you the same data, or well, sort of the same data. Anyway, good, Mike. Oh, Dave, Mike. Okay, yep. Michael was first.
Boy, that doesn't inspire confidence, does it?
Well, I'm not trying to not inspire confidence. I just think we just need to be very wary of the information we get, and people don't realize these are statistical prediction engines. They are not knowledge bases.
That's very interesting. I thought I didn't know anything about this. I thought they were knowledge based, and I would have expected.
Absolutely not. Well, they are.
I would have thought if you asked the question about the little girl and the wolf, you'd get exactly the same story.
Absolutely not.
Weird. Okay.
So, and they're not, I mean, they are knowledge bases, but they're vector databases, which is different from like relational databases and other things. Anyway, go ahead, Dave. You're muted.
Yeah, just a point of clarification, Kevin, the ChatGPT, if you look at the text I sent at the end, I had to keep poking it to get a straight answer, because it kept saying that, if your endpoint is an antenna and it's 50 ohms, there's going to be a discontinuity, and you got to match it and blah blah. And I kept pushing it, and finally, what it was trying to say, but it wasn't saying it properly. And I think that's another thing. It might be these engines are not saying things properly because it's not putting the correct words. But what it was trying to say is, if you've got two endpoints, 50 ohms, 50 ohms. Can you see my hands?
Yep.
One's a chip, one's an antenna, and you're going to run a trace. Okay. What it's saying is that trace, it doesn't matter what it is. The endpoint has to match what the chip is. And if this has got a discontinuity, that's going to cause a power loss, or it's going to cause a problem. So it's as if you're connecting them together. The trace is just connecting them together. Finally, it came out and it said, that's what I'm trying to say, is that the trace width doesn't matter. You don't have to make it wide. You don't have to make it wide to match. And that's what, Wayne, we were talking about, and we had that conversation with Charlie and Hassan. Hassan's not here on the call. Yeah, Hassan's not here. We had that same conversation, and all three people said the same thing. The traces don't matter. 50 ohms. You just keep them as long as they're short, and they're going. The key thing is power. That's the other thing, is that if you're cranking 30 watts of power across a little tiny little trace, well, you're going to have problems. right? Or if you're cranking 100 watts across a little tiny trace, you can have problems, right? But that's because of I squared R losses. Kind of, if you take the RMS value, I guess, of it, because it's going to burn up the trace, is going to burn it up, right? Because you get resistive effects, right? So
and
I just want to clarify that in ChatGPT, even though it was saying, if you don't have the trace properly spec'd and it's connecting to the endpoint, you can have a problem. And it took me literally about 5 minutes of asking it, what do you explain that? And I kept having to be more and more specific. And finally I said, look, I've got a 50 ohm chip. I've got a 50 ohm antenna. Is there any restrictions on the chip? Then I said, okay, now I've got a 50 ohm antenna and I've got a 350 ohm chip and a 300 ohm antenna. What happens to the trace? And says, oh, that's a problem because you've now got a mismatch and you're not going to be doing optimum power transfer.
Yeah, and I think most of the other engines kind of said the same thing, is that it's nice to have 50, but it's not the end of the world because the trace is so short it doesn't matter. So if as long as you're keeping it small and short. And I think, but all of them, I think, pretty much wanted a ground plane under a trace. They said that was a good idea for general RF circuit board layout.
And in my email, I put a reference to 2 YouTube videos. Watch those, and he explains why you need a ground plane below the RF trace.
That's the Hans Rosenberg guy, I think, on YouTube, right?
Yeah, and he demonstrates why you need it and what happens if you don't have it. He actually demonstrates it on a circuit board. It's very, very
a while back. It was a very interesting video.
Yeah, watch that, and he explains everything about traces, and he's talking about HF.
But my point is not so much the actual content. My point is that if you go back, and I didn't want to keep poking and prodding the way you did. I just wanted to kind of get a snapshot. My point is that if you go back and you ask the same question again, you may get a clear answer, or you may get a very unclear answer. I don't know what it depends on, time of day, direction of the wind. I don't know. My point is that it won't be the same. That's the point that I'm trying to make, is like, you take that prompt and I take that prompt, Ken takes that prompt, Wayne and Michael take that prompt and put it all into the same AI model. We will all have different answers. Hey, Howard.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Well, this is very interesting. So do you think that, based on what you did, that you should think of this sort of as the Coles Notes version versus reading the book, and the information you get shouldn't be taken out of context or has to be qualified? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's like, I personally, if I ask an AI engine anything, I verify it. I don't trust anything because they hallucinate. That's a well-known, sort of bug of them. And Dave, and the way around that is what Dave's doing is extremely detailed and very specific questions. But even then, they make mistakes. It was basing the ChatGPT conversation that Dave had. It was assuming that the 30-meter wavelength was going to be 10 meters, which is incorrect in a circuit board. It's 5 meters, give or take. Right? It's about half. So it was, which doesn't matter in our conversation, but it might matter in a different one.
Yeah,
and that's the kind of stuff you got to watch for. It's not obvious, and it's subtle, right?
Yeah, that's really interesting. So it's I don't use it very much, but so it seems that it's a good thing to point you in the right direction, per se.
Yeah, I mean, it gets you thinking about stuff. I'm just putting a link. If anybody wants to know more about these things, this guy has really helped me. He's got a sort of a primer on how these large language models work. He actually has done real life seminars to some of these companies and stuff too. Apparently, because what he did on YouTube was so good. Anyway, there's sort of like an initial one there.
Yeah, that's interesting. Thanks.
Yeah. So anyway, I take everything with a big grain of salt, a whole shaker of salt, actually.
Good advice.
Yeah, I ran into an issue. I'm using Claude. It seems to give better answers than ChatGPT in regards to coding. So I put the same question into both. Chat gives how do I say this? The code it gives, it's almost like it's encrypted. That's what it looks like. Whereas Claude gives a very detailed formatted layout of code. Now, in both cases, um, I do programming in 3D Studio Max. I automate a lot of our production. Um, and both would use a reserved or keyword from the compiler or interpreter as a variable, and which doesn't work because when you run it, guess what? It crashes on the second statement. So the other day I was in with Claude, and uh, again I gave it very detailed what I needed, and again it returned a line of code using a reserved keyword, and then I said you can't use such and such because it's a reserved word, and it comes back and says yes, you are correct. Let me redo this. So it redid it. It redid it, and it came back with exactly the same thing.
Go ahead, Dave.
What's that?
Oh, sorry, Dave. Dave wanted to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Comment.
Yeah, Kevin, it's something we had talked about because I have asked it to help me write code, and it's just throwing stuff out, and it's wrong, and you have to go back and correct it, and it comes back and it's still wrong, and it takes me because I tried writing some code, and it comes back, and it makes it. And we talked about this, Kevin. It sounds authoritative, and it's not.
Right.
It's
it hallucinates.
not authoritative, and it comes back. It says, "Oh, this is the problem. Do this," and you go and you do it, and it still doesn't work. And I spent hours. I'm not exaggerating. Hours trying to get something to work with an ESP32, and eventually I figured it out on my own. Now, whether chat kind of by doing that, it helped me to figure it out. You know, a light bulb went off and say, "Oh, let me check this," but it did not give me. Every time I've used it to troubleshoot a problem, it's never given me the correct answer. I have to tell it specifically, search forums and tell me what people are saying around this. And when you do that, you get a little bit more, like as I think it was Howard said, it points you in the right direction. You get a little bit more understanding to say, okay, I need to go look at this a little bit deeper. So
I have a story after this, but and which I told you. Anyway, go ahead, Eric.
Kind of on a related point, I had a very interesting experience yesterday evening. I was speaking with somebody about their medications, supplements, this, that, or whatever, and very, without missing a beat, casually, just the guy was talking just threw in there. So yeah, I asked Grok what to do about this dosage or whatever, and I changed it, and so I'm following it. I'm like. And I didn't comment, I didn't say anything, but it's the first time that I've had somebody just throw in, Grok, Claude, whatever, into stream of conversation, and they're basically using that as a healthcare provider, which I thought was kind of, Brave New World-ish. A little bit of a hair standing back.
Tesla's kill people, so why not the AI engine too?
I suppose. Yeah. So anyway, sorry, biological, not electronic, but there you go. Just how people, how this is starting to just slide right into the human condition, right? So.
Yeah. Bob, you had your hand up?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I've been using it off and on. One of my clubs down here, we talk about it on Fridays. And I think it was Eric, you talked about using it for medical dosages. And I did it for a friend. And what I was able to do was, I think they were taking a bunch of different medicines and supplements, and they had some kind of symptoms, which I assumed was just a reaction from the different meds. They weren't taken on a regular basis. So I went and created a nice long script, including a spreadsheet, and fed it into ChatGPT, which is what I use mostly, and asked them. And the prompt I asked was, I wanted results that came from 3 research hospitals that I know about. Two of them one of whom I work with, and only published from published articles in referee journals. And I asked them, I was that specific to get the response. And I ran it through Claude and ChatGPT, and I got the same results, different wording, but the same results. I've also tried to get it to write a very simple code routine for my Raspberry Pi. And I tried it, both ChatGPT and one other one before Claude. And it was only about 80% correct. And I've also used it for like ham things. And what I do now is I'll give it publications. I'll say, in accordance with the ARRL handbook and the or amateur radio book, tell me such and such and such. And I get better answers. And I'll do the same comparison, and using the same research sources, you probably get close to the same answer. But what I find is that the wording can be really, really different. Sometimes very verbose and sometimes very terse wording. Yep. So you got to be kind of careful, but it has its benefits. But I think, as you said, that the language learning modules are predictive, not authoritative. And I think that's the key thing I'm taking away from this. Okay, back to you guys.
It's a statistical model. That's it. But so to that point, I'm just going to, the last thing I have to say anyway is, I've only used it twice for coding, and whether it's just good prompts, luck of the draw, whatever. I did one writing a Python code for my laptop to get data out of my Siglent multimeter and log it to a CSV file. And I took the code. All I had to do was change the IP address because it's communicating over over Ethernet. And I changed the IP address. The code worked. Didn't have to change anything else. When I was at the Hackfest with Eric on a couple of weeks back, one of the challenges, because there's this capture the flag stuff, right? And we were in the anyway, there was a challenge where they had a C program. They gave you the source code that encrypted something. They said, write a decryption program. And I thought, well, I'm not going to waste time doing this. I took the program, uploaded it. I said, give me a decryption program, and sent me a decryption program, compiled it. It ran, it worked. That was it. No changes. So I thought, okay, I'm 2 for 2 with the predictable change on the address, and the other one, 0 changes. It just worked. So as much as I'm saying, be careful, it's like I should be going, wow, this is great. So the bottom line is your mileage may vary. That's all I have to say about AI, at least right now.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Anybody else have any comments or questions? I guess that's it. Okay, gentlemen, I think we've come to the end. So I think our next mixer is December 3rd, I believe. Yep, December 3rd. And on that note, gentlemen, have a good evening and a good weekend. And we'll catch you next meeting.
I'll be putting an email out shortly with all the files that I had tonight, just so in case you want to look at them. Okay.
Good presentations, all. Very interesting.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. Yes, very good.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay.
Good night, all.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Night, all.